It's annoying.
I mean, we should have a fanfare.
I mean, we've always got a fanfare up our...
I'm going to try and keep this one under control. We have known each other 40 years.
Yes. No one keeps the brand.
Has anybody ever been able to do that, Carol?
No.
We have been close for 40 years. In fact, we're now so close that we've decided that this is going to be a job share, and therefore my arm...
Oh, be careful, Giles, be careful.
She has very
After
sweetly
sympathy.
said that she will wear this for the second half of the day.
Oh, that's nice.
We're going to do it together.
How's it going, Giles, before we...
Well,
sort of job sharing.
actually, look, why do it look so much more stylish on you? Honestly.
I don't wear
That's classy.
Wear anything and look good.
Unfortunately, it's healing rather more slowly than they expected. I had more X-rays done. But so the answer is, if you are of riper years, don't fall over, because it takes longer
I wonder
for the
why.
bone to the calcium.
Oh, right.
Anyway,
Get that milk down you.
Yeah, thank you.
Giles, in a slightly callous way, Carol's just thrown that down there. Do you need that back?
No,
sure?
it's fine. I mean, the only reason I'm wearing it now is so that this falls straight there,
Yes.
and also to encourage sympathy from people I meet in the street.
And I have warned him, because you know what he's like for making up stories. But if he makes up stories about me this morning, he's getting a...
All right, well, let's kick off with a story, sadly, that isn't made up.
Yes.
The UK has warned it could face 3-hour daily blackouts this winter.
Yeah.
Now,
Going back in time, aren't we?
chances are this won't happen. Britain could face rolling blackouts this winter if it can't import enough energy from Europe. The National Grid has warned, as Number 10 blocked a public information campaign to encourage people to consume less. Now, we should stress the National Grid has drawn up plans to pay households with smart meters more than £10 a day to cut their energy bills, and the National Grid also has coal-powered stations on standby if needed. So
Before Carol gives us the solution, and she genuinely knows about this, what you've just said is very important. The National Grid produced a scenario, and if they hadn't, you would have said, well, why aren't they prepared for this?
Yeah.
And it goes from the best scenario to the worst scenario. The worst scenario includes blackouts. They're not expecting that. They think it's going to be more in the middle, and they're hoping for the best.
Yeah.
So you do not need to panic.
And we don't need to scare anyone here.
We don't need to scare anyone. The really frustrating thing is we can't save electricity in advance, because that's what I said to Carol downstairs. I said, why can't we... I used to have reservoirs at the back of my house. Why can't we have electricity reservoirs? And in the summer, when we're not using so much, store it up for the winter.
Yes, well, many moons ago, back in the black and white days, I used to be a construction engineer.
Yeah.
And I worked underground in a power station with 2,000 men. It's in the middle of Snowdonia. It's called the Electric Mountain. It's the only system that we have where we can do exactly that, when we can store electricity. So what a lot of people don't realise is that all of the generators, whether they're wind or coal or gas or whatever it is, they're producing electricity in real time. If we don't demand it and use that electricity, it literally goes into the ground. It is wasted.
So if we don't use it, it goes back.
It goes into the ground. And this system that I helped build many years ago, 40-something years ago, is there's a big lake at the top, big lake at the bottom. And when there was a great demand for electricity in the 80s, they would release literally a lake full of water through the pipes, through the turbines, generating electricity out to the bottom lake at night time. And this is where it would come back to the smart meter approach. When there is too much electricity produced, instead of it going to ground, the entire lake again would be pumped back up. The turbines would be reversed and it would be pumped back up, so the potential energy of the water was there. But we don't have enough of that system.
Right.
Sadly, for that to happen, which is why the smart meter approach, they want us to use electricity when there is too much supply, so that we're using it and so it's not wasted. But it's a huge issue.
So is it a case of just thinking about when you put your washing machine on?
Yes.
Thinking about when you have bath time and things like that?
Yes, it is. That helps.
Which is why I was confused, because I read this the report this morning that Number 10 blocked a public information campaign to encourage people to consume less, but quite a lot of ministers I found myself agreeing with Jacob Rees-Mogg, which I never thought I'd do. And he was quite behind it, and the idea is that, this kind of,
Yes.
the old school public information campaigns that we all remember.
I think they didn't want to panic people to thinking, oh, my God, we're going to have no electricity this winter. So the idea, I think, is a softly approach, saying it would be sensible to, use electricity, share a bath, that sort of thing.
He's off. It's like the old night storage heaters would do that. They would use electricity to start, and they would have these big stones that heated up It's the same sort of principle.
So do we need to go back in many ways for that?
Yeah, well, of course, our generation, remember the 3-day working week when you had to choose which 3 days you're going to have electricity on.
Really?
Yes.
In the 70s,
In the 70s.
yeah.
And television was turned off at 10 p.m. There were no television after certain hours.
Yeah.
It was quite fun.
Factories had to
It was quite
say
exciting.
which
We were
3
doing,
days they
do you remember we were
wanted
doing our
electricity?
homework by candlelight? It was quite exciting.
So what did they do? Did they just stop the television at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, well, television companies were told to turn off.
That's a great idea.
Whoa, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
You wouldn't be caught on the telly all night
Think of
long.
the work we'd lose.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
OK, let's go on to the
But
next
hopefully none
story.
of that will happen.
Yeah,
This-
hopefully.
Yeah.
I will be getting some candles a little bit later, though. This is an interesting story. The NHS apparently are looking for patients who refuse their appointments. If they refuse 2 appointments, they will literally be removed from the waiting list. It's a new official guidance. It's been suggested. According to the NHS England document, if a patient declines 2 proposed treatment dates, then they will be removed from the list, which I actually think might be a good idea because it frees it up for other people who have never had the opportunity to have their operation away.
I mean, health is a personal priority. Yesterday, I was lucky enough to get my booster jab. I was told I had to be at my local GP at 2:30. I was there at 2:28. By 2:32, I'd been seen. It was swift, efficient, friendly, done. But that's because I turned up on time. Now, if I hadn't turned up on time, that'd have been a wasted time.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't turned up the second time, more wasted time. So I think it's fair enough to say to people, come on, we're giving you a good service here. Come and take it at the right time.
Yeah, Carol?
Yeah, I think this has been proposed because there are some trusts where this is happening all the time. And so they want to be able to have guidance to target those patients who are wasting time. Because when somebody is booked in, for instance, not just for a COVID jab, but for an operation, that is a whole process. There's theatre staff, surgeons, wards, beds. It is a whole process. And to then not turn up for that kind of destroys the whole system.
I think
and we
the
have
system has to
nearly-
be in place, though. It sounds obvious, but so people can cancel easily. Like, anecdotally, we've had issues trying to cancel appointments where you simply can't get in touch with the person you're trying to move the appointment in, and you get sent a letter telling you when your appointment is, and then when you try and cancel the appointment, you simply can't get through to the person. So therefore, you end up missing the appointment.
It is a problem for mostly older people who are not on the apps and can't do it electronically, who are waiting for letters and then reply to a letter. That does make it more complicated.
Yeah.
I suppose also if... Oh, I've lost my train of thought. I think it's the menopause, I keep losing my train of thought. I had something in my head then.
I've got
It
some
literally disappeared.
bioidentical hormones in my bag.
Get me them patches, please. Sophie, literally just went
Let's
at me.
do one more before we go to break.
Do you know,
Three-quarters of
when
retirees...
I must just
Sorry, go on.
interrupt. You were speaking of this, talking about these medical matters. When I had my accident and NHS 5 sent an ambulance in 3 minutes to me, the excellent paramedics gave me gas and air. So I'm now ready to have a baby. That's the point I'm making. You took to it.
Did you like it?
Well, that was a bit too much.
Three-quarters of retirees prepared to go back to work amid the cost of living crisis. Three-quarters of retired people are prepared to take a part-time job to bring in extra cash during the cost of living crisis. This is researchers for the Church of Retirement Living questioned 1,500 retirees, and a total of 74% said they were not eager to return to work. They were prepared to do so. Surprising?
I am surprised that it's so high. So 3/4 of people, particularly the aspect that they're not eager to go back to work. And that's not surprising, as you get to a certain age, as we are, you do get a little bit more tired and so on. But this is about the cost of living crisis. And I don't want to think of a situation where people who perhaps aren't as healthy as others have to go back simply for that reason. And I wish the government would sort out the...
So sad, isn't it? This is their time when they should be just chilling out.
Can I say, yes, fine, people should choose what they want to do, and I want people to be free to do that. But as somebody who is still working, I think it's wonderful. I've been brought up on the philosophy, busy people are happy people, and of course it's OK for me because I've got interesting work to do. But look at the King and Queen Consort, 75, starting a new job, and seem to be getting on with it. Look at my friend, I'm proud to say, Dame Judi Dench, 88, working again in the West End. My colleague on the canals, Sheila Hancock, 90 this year, still at it. And they will tell you they are better for being
But the key is there, you said earlier. If the work you love gives you purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And pleasure. Yeah.
Absolutely, and satisfaction. But a lot of work does. And that's why a lot of older people are volunteering. They're not doing it for the money.
Yeah.
They're doing it because they want to get
that's
out and do things.
Yeah.
OK, well, listen, we're going to carry on talking about these stories a little bit later. Giles and Carol are going to remain with us till after the break, but also both staying with us
Exciting,
today for the
this, isn't it?
phone-in.
For the
Is what we're talking about with the- What's going on, Carol?
Well, we're very excited about this because we have hugely opposing views about mature dating. It's going to be a corker. I
is
have
going to
quite
be a corker.
controversial views
I am
on
a little
this
bit
topic.
nervous because I think we may be cancelled by 12 noon. This could be the
Let's
last
hope
time
so,
we see
Giles.
either of us.
Let's
I don't know which way I'm going to go. I don't know who's going to...
I know where I'm going to go.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely. I know already. Well, listen, if you want to talk about love in later life, give us a call for free on 08000 30 40 44 or download our free This Morning app and get involved by 11:15. You must be 18 or over.
You really must in this
You
case.
really must.
Yeah. All right, still to come. 5 years after 14-year-old Molly Russell took her own life after viewing harmful